Hello and welcome back to the What the Falk Sunderland review show. As oh no, I've said that too happy. Like, hello, we got beat. Hello and welcome back to the What the Falk Sunderland review show as we assess a defeat to Plymouth, Wayne Rooney's Plymouth. It's been a while since we've had to do this defeat thing, so forgive the temporary sadness. I'm sure we'll bring some light into your life throughout the end of the show. And we have with us a wonderful duo. Joining me first and foremost tonight is Pete, who's been an ever-present. You're basically Anthony Patterson, essentially.
Oof, after today, is that
I know.
really? Really? Is that what we're going for? Not Job?
Yeah. I mean, if we're
Yeah.
basing it on this season, we could say a few to be fair, but we'll say I feel like Anthony Patterson was like the one who had the most. He was just the first name that came out of my head. You're gonna have
Great.
to take it.
Yeah, back again. First defeat. First defeat I will be talking about. Speaking to you from Frankfurt today, as my being the Bob Dylan of European political journalists, just on a never-ending tour. Well, that and me best work's well behind as me voice has gone, and apparently I'm really difficult to work with. But yeah, Frankfurt, there we go. Let's see how this one chimes.
Got bad memories of Frankfurt. I booked the wrong airport literally 2 months ago and had to pay 500 quid to get back from the Euros. Wasn't great. I only noticed at like 1 in the morning as well in the hotel, which does not too dissimilar to yours. But since this is a audio medium, I don't know if anyone will even notice that. But here we are. Here we are, Pete. Here we are. It's been a while since he's been on. We've got him back. So for the one guy that finds him insufferable, now is the time to turn off. But I honestly feel like you timed this, Brad. We got beat. How you doing, mate? You okay? It's been really fun without you, but it's not your fault.
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I did notice today. I think the last time I talked about a Sunderland win was, funnily enough, against Plymouth on the 10th of February.
Oh God.
So yeah, it just seems like I'm the bad luck charm. But yeah, I'm good. I'm not on a glamorous tour like Pete is, and I'm sat in the living room and trimmed in after my lovely tour to Hetton Industrial Estate earlier today.
My mate texted me today and he's on holiday somewhere in like, I don't know, like the Maldives, somewhere really nice. And he was just like, and if you don't like NBA, this won't matter to you. And sorry if you don't like basketball, but he was like, oh, I'm just on the beach with Kyle Lowry, who's like one of like a relatively big NBA legend, whilst I was in the Glasgow rain getting like that kind of grey hummy mist. So, I mean, let's be honest, Brad, I'll stick with you. I think a lot of today was sort of summed up when I looked at like before the game. I've just discussed how my day went. You've discussed where you are. Pete's stuck in Frankfurt. Before the game, we had 4 wins on the bounce. The manager of the month. Plymouth couldn't win. Wayne Rooney is the manager. The goalkeeper was injured. How much did you expect that today, considering?
You know what? Funnily enough, I was really confident we were just going to do a job on them. The Sunderland in me, which I thought was sort of erased from me, would have said 1-0 Plymouth. Just after everything that you've just said there, a scrappy 1-0 Plymouth. I didn't expect a 3-2. If I'm
No.
honest, I don't think anyone did. But it's just one of them things, isn't it? It's when you're feeling high and happy, and I haven't been on here to wax lyrical about all these magnificent performances. I knew I'd be coming back in the near future. I did pencil in today. I taught you in the international break. So it's not really a Sunderland thing. It's a me thing. And I do really apologise for that. But yeah, it's just one of the things, mate. To be honest, just quickly touching over the game, I thought first half we were good. We should have put them to bed, to be honest with you. But second half, as good as we've been in the first 4.5 games this season, the second half, oh my goodness. It was just PTSD of the second half of last season.
The game, oh, look, I'm good. We got beat. And I'm not trying to like paper over like certain things that weren't great. I think it's comfortably the worst we've played this season today. But I mean, if we run the first 5 games of the season, class. If you told me we won the first 4 games of the season, or we won 4 of the first 5, I would have bitten your hand off. And I know West Brom play today, tomorrow, depending on you listening to it. But like, we'd still be second come the end of this week. Like, it's a bit of a setback. It's not like a huge speed bump as much as you don't want to lose to a team that, look, I don't think Plymouth are going to be anywhere near the top half of the league, mainly because Wayne Rooney's there. And I think it was probably one of those games where they needed to win. The combination of them obviously getting to kick up the arse at half time and the pressure that knowing they had to win, coupled with like basically our defensive mistakes, which we'll come on to, is giving them a win. Although it's not giving them that they've worked hard, but like without those mistakes, it's still difficult for them to win. I don't think that was the Sunderland you normally saw, but it's not the end of the world. Look, I'm not going to like lose the last month of positivity and all the good stuff I've seen over kind of 45 minutes of pish, essentially. Like, if I expect Sunderland to go an entire season without doing at least 45 minutes of pish, I need to support a different team because that would just be fucking stupid and unrealistic. Pete, are you in a similar vein? Like, I feel like I'm getting that kind of, oh, it's going to be all right, lads. Just right on podcast time. It's fine.
I'm fairly sanguine about the whole thing. It was terrible, that second half. Credit where credit's due to Plymouth. I mean, I've got a bit of a soft spot for that part of the world. One of my first jobs in journalism was down there in Plymouth with BBC Spotlight Southwest. I had great memories from that part of the world. I find them to be quite fun and entertaining fans that don't take themselves too seriously. They came out brilliantly in that second half. They came out much better. They played better. They wanted it more. Sunderland were bad. Sunderland were not very good in that second half, and they didn't deserve it. I think I said in the chat there, like, it didn't feel like a last minute defeat because I'd already resigned myself to the fact that Sunderland were going to get themselves beaten by this Plymouth team. And yeah, when great, you look for the positives in it. Mundle scoring goals again. Obviously Jack Clark was a massive loss for us, but I'm going to say it anyway. Jack who? There you go. He's come in, he's done that. Patrick Roberts getting the goal. Wonderful to see. It was nice to see his dad on social media saying, sad about the result, but there you go. But off the mark with a goal. Take the positives from it where you can. Reggie Lebris at I'm saying his name wrong all the time, man. Lebris. His comments at full time, I think they were solid. Didn't do the basics. We'll put it right. It's not the end of the world. There wasn't any of this like nonsense about, we weren't at the races and we'll take the positive. I think we played very well. I hate that from a manager. Everybody knows when they didn't. You didn't get that from Lebris. The problems were pretty clear. I mean, I think the two lads from Northern Ireland won't look back on that as the best games they've played in a Sunderland shirt. I mean, Dan Ballard is left the ground apparently on crutches, we heard. That's not a great sign either. Look, he had a poor game. I think Hugh also had a poor game, but they've had that trip away with Northern Ireland, and look, I'm not a huge fan of the international break. A lot of that probably down to me watching a lot more Ireland matches than my accent should sound like I do. But yeah, no, I would rather there wasn't international football breaking up the domestic season. It's not great. It's not the end of the world. As I say, there's positives that I can see from it. I liked, seeing Mundle scoring the goals like he's doing. And I've got confidence in the coach, in the gaffer, that he's going to have words with them on Monday. And they'll be trying to put right the problems. Look, the press that was there wasn't there. The urgency that was there from them wasn't there. The intensity that has been there for them wasn't there. And they got out hustled, out muscled, and outplayed in midfield in the second half. Fair enough result of Wigan. Wigan? Who am I talking about? Plymouth. There we go.
They're all the same.
All
I think,
the same.
like, when you go, I'm not going to say we're going to go and win the league by 105 points, but like the championship.
Yeah, by the way, I haven't done my update that I've been doing so far. It's now 88 points in 88 games for 100 goals in 100 games. It's a nice bit of symmetry despite the loss. So there's another positive.
So even if we do that, like we do, which summed up the day a lot, when we won the league with 105 points, we got beat at home off Barnsley 3-2, and it was a big, stodgy, crappy defeat. You cannot really go through the championship without this. I think, as annoying as it is, because no one goes, oh, it's okay, we got beaten in the 93rd minute, because it's not okay. Like, we were poor today, and I don't know what Rooney said to them at half-time. I'm assuming he's suggested he might take their grandmothers out for a drink, and they've gone, bugger that, better win. And I think how we respond to it is going to be really important.
Far too late there.
I was going to say, come on, lads. I thought that was quite fast. Thought of it right on the spot.
You put that a lot better than I was going to come in and put it on. I was going to go down the Gaza route and watch Rooney gets up there with the grand. I apologise.
Ooh, but I think the way we respond is going to be the really big thing. And I know that's really that's almost borderline Jake Humphrey high performance podcast speak, but go and get a similarly bad performance against Borough, and then the week after that put in 3 bad performances in 4 or something like that. Then you start to go, well,
that's
hang on
a problem.
minute.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
But I think the game being against Borough, the next one, it couldn't really be a better match, could it?
Not for me. I think if you can't get yourself up for a game against Borough, and I don't think it's a derby. People know I used to work for Middlesbrough. I don't see it as that, but it's a big game. It's good atmosphere always.
They're in geographic proximity. I wouldn't say it's a derby, but there is something there.
It's a rivalry for me based on my geographical location. My area is split about 33% Sunderland, Newcastle, Borough, with 1% for some reason supporting Hartlepool or Darlington, or in Ross's case, Gateshead.
Fair play to them. I always say pick one player out, and it's been class the past sort of few weeks, Brad, because I know you've listened in and stuff like that. It's been no matter who I've picked or who Pete's picked, there's been another 3 or 4 people that the other lads could pick. Now, we started doing it last season where you can mention a player for a negative reason if you want. So I'm going to throw it back in because we did get beat. There was positives today, but yeah, if you were to pick a player out for positive or negative reasons, which is fine, who would you pick out, and what would be sort of the reasons behind why you're picking them out?
You know what? Because I haven't been able to come on and do a positive yet. I'm going to try and stay with one. Based on the first half, I thought Patrick Roberts. Obviously, he stepped up and took the penalty. He's hit the bar with a free kick, which was probably the cross, but I thought he was all on game in the first half. Everything that we were doing well was coming down our right-hand side, and Patrick Roberts was a lot of the time was at the heart of it. I just think throughout the season, he's just been back to what we come to expect from him. Get on the ball, drive at the defenders. But I think what really does help him, and we spoke about it last season, he didn't have Ahmad last season. I think that really hindered him. I think Chris Rigg, although it wasn't Riggy's best game today, I think Rigg's sort of filling that role what Ahmad done for Roberts. He likes to play these little 1-2s with them, create little triangles with Job just coming slotting in behind them as well. And it just allows Roberts that extra 2 or 3 yards to get his head up, have a look, and drive into space. And I thought first half he was excellent. If we were going to score again in the first half, it was coming down that side for me. And a lot of that is to do with Patrick Roberts. Like Pete said, I didn't think it was Trey Hume's best game today. And I don't think he supported him as well as he has in other weeks. And that's fine, because the other 4 weeks, Trey Hume's been excellent for us as well and created a good partnership down that side. But I think the more we see Chris Rigg developing, it's going to, as a result of that, it's bringing the best out of Patrick Roberts. And at the minute, I know we brought Jan Paveda in, we were saying, but a lot of people were saying at the start of the season, if Roberts starts like he was playing last season, Paveda's going to be there to take his place. But at the minute, I think Roberts is one of the first names on the team sheet, just for how he can influence the game. I mean, there was a point in the second half as well. He's drove from the left-hand side and threaded a lovely ball through to Mundle, who's used his pace and just put it in the side net. And it was a good save by the keeper. But that could have been another assist, because it was an excellent bit of play from Roberts. And that changes the game because there's still 20 minutes to go there. So I'm going to stick with a positive with Patrick Roberts for me, mainly for the first half, but he did have flashes in the second half where, look, if we were going to come back in, it was either coming from one of our flanks, and ultimately the goal did come from Mundle, but I thought Roberts was excellent.
Yeah, I can't complain with Roberts. I know it was a penalty, but I'm pleased to see he's got off the mark, because I feel like If that was last year, he probably puts it out of the barn, does Chris Waddle, with the way that his sort of form was going. It's interesting. I was watching a YouTube video, just came up with me suggesting it was like, whatever happened to the English Messi? And it was about Patrick Robertson. I'm thinking, well, he's doing all right, mate. He's just not quite the levels of Messi. But the video was like 10 minutes long, and it was like, it went really in depth statistically on like his career since he started at Fulham. And I thought, blooming heck, like this has gone like in depth. And it's funny, anytime he's had like a poor season where he's played on a more regular basis, like not his loan spells, because he was like to and from different teams all the time, like that is going to unsettle you. But when he was at Celtic and when he was here, the only time he struggled is when he hasn't had either a full preseason or a long-term injury. This season, well, not long-term, like an injury that's kept him up for a while. I think his first season, he got something like 7 goals and 11 assists or something for Celtic. Then got a thigh injury for 4 months and missed some pre-season. Didn't get hardly any, didn't really play. I feel like last season, the injuries really knocked him back, and he came back and got another one. This one, he looks fit, firing, sharp, and adding Chris Rigg, who I've got to be honest, I thought was very lucky to come out of that challenge from Barley Mumba alive today. I thought that was absolutely disgraceful from Barley Mumba, and I would have probably give a red card, let alone a penalty. I will pick out. Well, I'll kind of do a negative then, and there is going to be more discussion on this with listener questions. But I thought Dan Ballard was really poor today. Like, me and Ashley were talking in the car before, and I don't know if someone said it on Twitter, and she was saying like, I feel like if O'Nien put in that kind of level of performance today, he'd get absolutely crucified. So I think it would be wrong of me not to be. I mean, the second goal is just, it's really, really poor defending. Like, Brendan Galloway plays for Plymouth, and that's what I'd expect from Brendan Galloway, not from Dan Ballard. And that's a compliment towards Dan Ballard, because I think on form, which he has been for the bulk of his time here, he's probably our best defender. In terms of centre half, I think he's a brilliant defender. I would never want to see him sold. I know that there's a few people on Twitter saying, does Mepham come in and stuff like that? For me, not a chance. You stick with Dan Ballard as one bad game, but like for me to not mention how absolutely abysmal he was today, I don't think there's much you can do about the own goal. I don't know what he's doing in the position he is, but it's annoying that Pat pulled off such a good save, and then he's just on the line to put it in with his knee or something. But for me, just his all-round performance, he looked like a defender that couldn't handle pressure, which is not really what he's like.
Yeah, and I mean, I've had a bit of time to reflect because I was playing him on Twitter. Don't get me wrong. I have reflected a bit on it, and you've got to remember as well, he was coming back from an injury, and we had to throw him on once Dan Neil got sent off against Burnley. And I don't think that he would have been risked then. And then, strangely, Argyle picked up another injury. He might have had another week off then. So it's sort of like, is he 100% fit? Because he went away and then played with Northern Ireland as well after nursing an injury and being thrown on when really he shouldn't have been. Was he still carrying a knock? And ultimately, as a result, he's picked up another injury.
I think Ballard's performance today, whatever the reason for it, was very un-Ballard-esque. Like, Dan Ballard doesn't drop stinkers to that level. He does some things where you go, you could have done a bit better than that occasionally. He doesn't drop in like, I don't know, I can't even think of a player. Like Brendan Galloway's just stuck in my head at the minute, and I feel like that's like a bit unfair because no one's that bad. But and not to be fair to Brendan Galloway, I haven't seen him since, and I didn't see him before. But in a red and white shirt, he was comfortably the worst defender I've ever seen in my life. And Dan Ballard put in like that level of performance today, which is just not what we expect. But I'd say it's probably the worst performance he's put in the 2.5 years he's been here, and I can't think of many other bad performances. So, look, the questions were, does Mepham come in? Like, does Dan Ballard get dropped? No, not for me. I think if you start just chucking players out after like, a bad 60, 70 minutes, I don't think it's going to build his confidence. For me, he's a tremendous defender, and 6 weeks ago, everyone was devastated when he got injured. So let's plow on and let's just suck it up and accept that, some people are human sometimes. But Peter, I have a feeling if you're going positive, who you're going to pick out, because I kind of feel like we have to. So if you don't, I'll chime in and give you someone else. But who you got?
I've got to go positive, and I've got to go Romaine Mundle, because he's stepped up to that, and it could have been a disaster. You know, we've seen it before when somebody's been tipped of like, don't worry, we've got this lad coming in, he's mustard, like he's going to be great. Spurs rated him so highly, they let Jack Clark go, and I was thinking, oh God, what's he actually going to be like? And I don't know if you remember, I think it was his first game, he put in a tackle on somebody at their knee, big kung fu kick tackle.
It was
And
Huddersfield.
you're thinking like, all right, great, what's this lad going to be like? But this season, no, he's been phenomenal how he's stepped in there, and he scores that goal and makes me scream down the hotel room here in Frankfurt. I was waiting for a knock at the door from somebody going, is everything all right?
In that accent.
That's exactly how they speak here. That's it's perfect. Rhinelandische Falsch accent. Is that where I am, or I'm in Halle? I think I'm in Halle. I don't know. A long trip. I was in Dusseldorf earlier this week, and I've got to go to Trier tomorrow. Actually, I've got to go to Schengen tomorrow. That's Luxembourg. Anyway, sorry. But after he scores that goal, his first reaction is he loves it as well, man. He absolutely loves it. He runs out to the fans because he scores it in front of them. And I think it's Try Hume who picks the ball up and he gives it he gives him a look and he's like, how are Romaine? We do have a chance of getting another one here. Stop a bit of that. But no, I'm over the moon for the lad that he's got the goals. I've got confidence in him, and I think that's one of the things I've said the last few weeks. And look, I'm not going to slate the lads that played the day, even though some of them have not lived up to the standards. We've talked about Dan Ballard. I don't think Try Hume lived up to the standards he'd set. I don't think Dan Neil has lived up to the standards that he set. But that's one game, and it's right what you said earlier, Graham. If that's one game and the bounce back against the Borough, happy days. If they start losing 5 on the trot, they'll be hell on. But and I don't know. I've not been on
Ryan
Twitter.
Noble, hell on.
I've not been on Twitter that much today, but I saw everybody going like, "Oh God, here's going to work incoming the Twitter meltdown." And we were having a bit daft laugh in the group there, where I think both me and Brad said, "Labrise out, sack him now." He clearly doesn't know what he's talking about. But I don't know. I haven't seen much of that. But the positive that's come out of it is you've got that lad there, Romaine Mundle. He's scoring goals. He looks dangerous when he's got the ball. And again, just that word that comes with us in those Sunderland players, they've got standards and I've got a confidence in them that they can create something. And when you've got a player like Mundle, who's so quick as he is, and he can take a chance because it's not an easy goal that he scores. It's not on a plate for him. He's got a lot to do when the ball arrives to him. And he gets himself into a great position for it. Yeah, it's the Championship. There's a reason it's the most competitive league in European football. You're going to lose some of them.
We don't really do that well at Plymouth either. From memory, I can't remember the last time we got a point at Plymouth. I'm sure someone can tell me, but it's interesting you touched on, well, when was it?
I think it was when we first signed Ross Stewart and he scored when he ran from the halfway line.
There's a reason I don't remember that. I was severely hungover. I think I woke up as Ross Stewart scored. And I think it was on half time because it was just when restaurants had opened up and that again in Glasgow, because we were like a little bit late coming out of lockdown, so to depress everyone and remind everyone. And I went and drank loads of sangria because they weren't going to be serving me beer past a certain point. But the guy was like, "Here, mate, I'll sort you out. Don't worry about it."
Sangria is just salad, really, isn't it? It's a fruit salad.
Alcoholic. I mean, I can't take wine. That's the moral of the story. And I was spewing me ring, a bit like I was today in the 93rd minute. I think I've lost my train of thought. Shit. Yeah, I just think Mundle, that was it. So the only Sunderland player named after a cabbage. I know. When I looked at the stats between him and Jack Clark, because I don't think you can't make an assumption over like 2 games of the season. But it's interesting looking at the stats because some like benefit Jack Clark, some really benefit Mundle. And I think the early stats indicate that, maybe the eye test isn't that wrong. Mundle's just a bit more direct. And I think that's probably why his goals have came from, where his goals have came from. My favourite thing about Mundle is his head doesn't seem to drop when he didn't get everything right today. There was sometimes his fullback beat him and got the better of him, but he kept going back for more. And for someone who's as direct and as confident and wants to get to the goal as much as him, 9 times out of 10, if he plays like today, Sunderland's going to win because that's going to kill you as a fullback.
I think there was a slickness to Jack Clarke that isn't there
Yeah.
with, but Clarke also had that extra year, 2 years of playing regular football. No, I like the directness. I think it gives a release ball from fullback. I know it's Luke O'Nien that's been playing those lovely crossfield passes, but it gives you a release ball from fullback across the pitch. If he finds himself some pace, there's very few defenders catching him. Like he's lightning quick. And like you said, he's physical lad as well, not
Mhm.
just the kung fu kick that he tried to break that lad's leg in half with last season, but like the today he was having a good old tussle with somebody on the sidelines there. Big strong lad, quick lad, eye for goal. I'm happy with him.
Yeah, I'm absolutely delighted with him in the past 3, 4 weeks since Jack Clarke's gone. To be honest, I love Jack Clarke. I think he's a great player, but Mundle's kind of narrowly made me forget him a little bit and not have to. I haven't like watched Ipswich and gone, I wonder how he's getting on. Like a kind of like
And yeah,
like
I
this.
did. I did that on the radio
Oh,
a
did
little
you?
bit.
But I'm
Like we
not.
still do with Ahmad.
No, I'm not like a scorned lover. I just kind of went.
Oh, I
Eh.
am. I'm mad. I can't take it. I can't.
Like I only watched Man United Southampton today just because Ahmad was starting. Literally the only reason I watched it. Could not care less. As soon as I seen Ahmad was in the starting lineup, whoosh back to my
Exactly.
Archie's football. Right, we're putting it on.
We just, yeah, I don't know where we've gone here, but I've watched it because Ross Stewart was on the bench. There's some good listener questions. I'm not saying there's not normally, but normally we're so happy that we've won. Like, I just forget. But I think this one's good, Brad, because we're probably like massive fans of this player, but I have a feeling you've got the same opinion as me, and maybe the same opinion as Andrew, who's sent a question in here. Dan Neil not started this season well and came straight back in for an impressive Brown. Should he have kept the same midfielders to Pompey win? And also, whilst I'm asking that question, I think he's our best player. But is Dan Neil a question this season? Because I actually think in a really bright season where there's been a few negatives, Dan Neil's had a couple of off games, including today.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm not just saying it in hindsight as well, by the way. It's a bit different if a player's been out injured, then you bring him back in as your captain, one of your better players. But look, he got sent off being an idiot. And the person who came in to replace him has played really well, got a goal. Job was outstanding as playing where Dan Neil was and filling that role yet last 2 weeks ago. So for me, I think if you change it, you're leaving yourself wide open if it goes wrong to some massive criticism. And it hasn't really worked. And I agree with you. I think Dan Neil, when we've said it on record, for me, Dan Neil was a bigger importance to keep than what Jack Clarke was, based on what we knew of how good of a footballer he is. Since he's had that captain's armband, I think he's been below average. He's been when the team's played well, Dan Neil has looked average, decent. He's never stood out. When we've been, and then today, I just didn't really notice him doing very much. Their third goal, he should have really been out. I mean, it's 2 or 3 minutes to go, mate. Go and throw your body in the way. Take a yellow card if you need to. Go and throw something in the way of that ball and get a block on. Because he just stood off and allowed the shot to go through, and that's not what you want from a leader. And look, I'm not going to sit here and absolutely rinse him because I'm a massive, massive fan of him. But I would not have brought him in today in this season. He has got to improve and lead the team. He's been given the captain's armband for a reason, and look, massively deserved. I think it's excellent. That's what's gone through your academy. And as good a footballer as he is, Sunderland lad is leading the team. I think it's excellent. It's a testament to the academy. It's a testament to him, and it's a very proud moment. But he's been, I'd say, at best average this season, and that's got to improve. And it doesn't fill me full of hope that we've got Borough next week, and he's a bit of a hothead when we play them.
He's been below the standards that Dan Neil has set. I think the difference this season, perhaps to last season, is he didn't he was good last season in a second half the team was poor. Like when Job looked like he was kind of running on empty towards the end. Equa for me never did anything last season when he came back from injury. Daniel was consistently 7 out of 10. And I do think he's our best player. And I would have rather, I said this before it happened, so I'm not being revisionist with it. I would have sold Jack Clark 10 times over. I would have sold Dan Neil because I rate him that highly. But this season, there's competition there. There's a boy that's played Champions League football that's just came in. And on top of that, Alan Brown's came in, who's played 400 odd games as captain of Preston, who have always been, a competent championship side, and he's a Republic of Ireland international. And then alongside him, Riggy and Job have just got better this season. So Daniel dropping below average, or what we expect from him, is unexpected. I don't know really the reason behind it, and I think it's the least of our worries really, because we've won 4 of the first 5 games. But if there's a positive we can take out of Daniel being below average, is that there's people that can come in and take his place and be good quality. But
that's going to be my question for you, Graham, and for Brad as well, is that how do you, if you're, as Regis Lebris made himself a problem here, because Dan Neil's his captain, he's been made the captain, he's been brought back in. I agree with Brad, shouldn't have been brought back in for this match, I don't think, because the 3 had been playing brilliantly. How do you drop him for the next match if you want to put Alan Brown in there?
I would just take him out and play Job deep. I don't like Job deep. I prefer Job in like the 8 and sprinting forward, but his performance against Portsmouth was outstanding. I think Middlesbrough, just like any other championship team that they'd be got at, we're at home. Just nothing that really frightens me, nor makes me feel secure in this division, because it's the championship. Anyone can beat anyone. But for me, based on the first 5 performances this season, our best midfield has been Job, Rig, Alan Brown. Daniel will come back into that, and he'll play more games than the majority of them by the end of the season. But on current form, those 3 midfielders, by and large, have been our best 3 midfielders, in my personal opinion.
Do you think Sitter out to start?
Oh, it's a big call in it, but
what I'm saying is that's what was kind of my point was, is that a big one for Lebris, that he would now have to make that decision, having brought him back in for this game. It looks bad to take him out for the next one.
I think he'll take Rig out, personally.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
That's what he'll do as well.
And I wouldn't.
No, but not at all.
Like you've just said there, by him bringing them back in now, to then drop him the week after, sort of like he's doubled down on himself. Yeah, it's a strange one.
It's like I'm pleased to have this discussion, because I think they're all bloody good players ultimately when they're playing the top of their pomp. We've got.
It's a bit, all my diamond shoes are too tight. Which one of our amazing central midfielders do we play?
Who's been only a 6? Which is essentially what we're saying. I think this is a good. Who did I ask the last question to? You were with Brad, wasn't it? I asked it, Brad. That's right. So Pete, you can have this one, and then we've got the one word to describe today. You can use 2 if you want. I wanted to ask this one because I know we've touched on it a bit, but I do. It was one that just stuck out to me. It's from Rob. Is Pato and Ballard as good as people say or think? I'm not so sure. I don't think they are when they're put under pressure. I think Pato's got some questions to be asked, because he's basically been smoking cigars for the first 4 weeks of the season and didn't have a great end of last season. Poor today, poor on the last goal. But Ballard,
Dan Ballard set standards for himself that he didn't live up to today.
Yeah.
And the only other time I can really think he's not lived up to those was against the Mags last year. Where, everybody, there was nobody who played in a red and white shirt did themselves any good that day. Pato, look, this is the first time he's had proper things to do this season. I would love to see, some of those saves are great. Some of them are brilliant, but They go straight either into the defender and into the back of the net, or he puts it straight into the path of an attacking player. That's part of the save. That's part of the job. There's no point in, there's an Eastern European saying that translates as 1 teaspoon of tar into a barrel of honey ruins the whole barrel of honey. And it's those little things that ruin those great saves for me with Pato. And you know, again, like what Brad was saying, he's an academy lad. I want to see them do better than anybody else, because it's good not only for the Sunderland team now, but it's good for kids coming through the academy. It's good for getting kids into the academy to say that there's those pathways. Has he been up to standard today? No. Has he been up to standard when he's been tested recently? No. Is he as good as a lot of the praise he gets? Maybe, but I don't think he should. Moment. There you go, Brad. I know. Is he up to it? No, he's not. My quick answer is no, but in mitigation, I still see a proper player there.
I think you know, he's 22, 23. Goalkeeper's mature.
That as well. Very young.
Goalkeeper's mature in the 40s, so he's got 18 years to get better. Plenty of time. One word to describe today, Brad, before we go, because let's just ourselves off, call it a day and get ready for Monday and go again. 1 word or 2 words if you want, Brad.
The word I think I've used a lot is average. I'll just say average, because the reason for that quickly was we're decent first half without being clinical, as much as we were shite second half. So I'm just going to say average.
I'll use 2, but both the same word, poo. That's just how it felt today when that goal went in. Pete, what's yours?
Standards. They've been set. You have to live up to them. They didn't do it today.
I think that's fair. Good way to end. Hope we've made you feel a bit better about getting beat in the last minute, which essentially it was. I'm sure we'll be fine moving forward. Things have been genuinely great. This week's a tough one. We'll be fine. Enjoy the rest of your week, lads, and I'll see you all on Saturday, possibly.
Cheers, Graham.
Thanks.